the letter Sad in 3 chapters that start with Sad. Elif Lam Mim Sad, chapter 7. Kaf Ha Ya Ain Sad. Sad is one of the 5 letters there, chapter 19. And Sad in the beginning of chapter 38. These 3 Sad, he counted 152. I was in prison that time. I entered prison after shortly meeting Ahmed Didat and getting permission to translate his book. I didn't have time to really deal with it, but thank God, God put me in prison, in Turkish prison. Thank God I had those tortures too, because ultimately it brought me to an entirely different way, thank God. And that time I had my friends, comrades, to study that one, because it was published in 1938, I think in Lebanon, and this guy has a very accurate methodology of listing words and their count. And in fact, part of the verses he lists. Fantastic book. There are in fact 15 errors. In later edition, those errors are corrected in that book. I checked the count of the words. Based on that, I found it very interesting, fitting that. But the count of letters were beyond me. Some of the letters I could count easily, like letter Qaf in the beginning of 2 chapters. Chapter 42, Hamim Ain Sin Qaf, or chapter Qaf, chapter 50. You count them, 114, easy. Circle over it 2 dots. You don't need to know Arabic. Don't think that it is beyond you. Recognition of only 28 characters. But letter Sad and others, especially ALM, I didn't count them because I knew there was a problem in Alif. In today's manuscripts, there is extra Alifs. Well, is it distortion? Did they distort the Quran? No, I know that the Quran preserved 100% letter by letter. I will give you this example and many other examples. The letter Sad, we counted 152 that time. It was 153 as it is in today's manuscript, which is false, error. I wouldn't be able to continue because I expected a precise, perfect system. We all made that error. Incredible. And thank God we had that error. Years later, when criticism came, they said, no, Rashad, doctor, made it up. In fact, there are 153 Sads. Yes. Then we look at it, incredible. Rashad's early computer counts, in fact, before he discovered 19. He discovered 19 in 1974. Before 1974, he had a book about statistics of these initials. He decided to translate the Quran, and he gave himself a promise, says, I will not pass a verse unless I understand it. Well, it didn't take much. 7 verses later, he hit Elif Lam Mim. Many speculations, people made up many meanings. Even some of his friends say that just arbitrarily, these are acronyms of certain names of God, arbitrary, just from made it up. But many of them humbly says, we don't know this. This is mystery of the Quran. When he came to Elif Lam Mim, since he's scientist, and also God destined him to discover. When I say destined him, it is a prophecy. And I will give you some example about that. Then he said, let me put in the computer, this Quran is made of this letter, let's check the frequency of this letter. In 1973, he published a book. I have this book, copy of this book. In fact, it is towards the last months of 1973. He doesn't mention at all 19, he has not discovered yet. All about the frequency of these initials, he find out they are the highest in the chapters they initialize. Statistically, they are significant. First time in history. And then after that, in 1974, he notices that these numbers seems random, some odd, some even, some big, some small. Most of them are multiple of 19. Now, there was Sat 152. In prison, me and my friend, God is witness that I am telling the truth. We counted 152, and later 153. Then I was very disturbed when I found that it is really 153 in the book. I went to the Suleimani library to check one of the oldest versions kept there. It was a Tashkent copy, is not full copy, and thank God I know how to even read Kufi. Many Arabs cannot read it without even diacritical mark, without even dot. You need kind of have very good idea about the language. Also, you solve problems. You eliminate possible letters in that combination to get contextual, both verbal level and statement level consistency. And then I found the letter Sad in chapter 7, verse 169, I think, 169. Bastatan, the word bastatan, in today's manuscript is written with sad and over it a little sin. And there is a lie, false stories they made up about these 3 hadiths that supposedly God revealed it with sad, but it is pronounced as sin. In some manuscript they say Yukra will be sin, it's written with sin. Big lie. In that manuscript it's written with bastatan, with sin, not with sad. Now we know the story. Now we know that with some manuscript, and a scribe made an error. Instead of writing with sin, made it with sad, increased the number to 153, not multiple of 19. But later someone corrected it, found it is error, put correction sin over it, and later it became a kind of controversy, whether it's sad or sin. And those pro-sad, the wrong side, they made up 3 hadiths specifically about this word. Lie. They support with lie. And today's manuscript is following that lie. But the miracle of the Quran, mathematical structure program, was so precise that led us to discover this error. This was Rashad. Rashad did not even see this manuscript at that time. He pinpointed that because it just, with red light, it shines over there. Sir, there is problem here. Sad over it, little sin. If you look at chapter Edip Yuksel, start with Edip Yuksel. And then I took the picture of that copy, I sent it to Rashad. In fact, Rashad published it in his book. It is the copy I sent. When I saw it, thank God. God says, I will show my signs in themselves and in the horizon. Now, Edip's language fundamentalist, absolutely. La ilaha illallah is a fundamentalist language, no compromise. When I gave a lecture in Oxford University several years ago, when I exposed the problem with hadith and sunnah through sectometer or theometer, 45 multiple questions I arranged to these people. They are highly intellectual. I said, I apologize for you. I know that you passed this studies and some of you are professors, some of you graduate students. Please don't take it personally. Please try to answer these. And the question in the beginning, I say their name and then which sect do you belong? And then this multiple question exposes that according to their own picked sects, chosen sects, they are many times, sometimes 10, 20, 30 times, they are apostates. They deserve to be killed according to their sect because the options they picked, they were the wrong options according to their sects. Anyway, one of the person over them with his wife, he was one of the academicians, he knew that he has problem with hadith. But he wants still stick one. What about just one hadith? I'm seeing this is caricature, cartoon, unbelievable. He just wanted to negotiate with me to add just one more hadith to claim that the Quran alone is not enough. Mukhlisina lahuddin, to dedicate religion or system to God alone. He wanted to add just even one little partner, just one, not thousands. Therefore, I will be fundamentalist. There is no negotiation. If it is 2 times 2, 4, and some scholar, they do certain this kind of trickery, they come up with 3 and 5. This gentleman says, well, this controversial issue, you cannot be fundamental about 4. No, I will be. Because if we follow that, if we build a building based on that fuzzy-muzzy mathematics, that building will collapse on our head. Objective random dot, yes, as I said, 100% objective and 100% subjective. Your qalb and your mind, qalb salim. And ingrate kafir, the Quran very verse says, those ingrates will say they will not understand this, but it will increase the faith of those believers. I ask him a question, with this number 19, which is in your mind is the smoke of hell, and there is a kind of guards over there, is a punishment that God gives to whom? Who says the Quran is word of God. The word of not God, word of Muhammad. Is it the God of the Quran says this? Does this? Punishes the person who questions the integrity of the Quran, the authenticity of the Quran. The only answer to that person, I will burn you, roast you in hell. And the same Quran says, Hatu burhanakum, all the opponents bring your evidence, bayina. In fact, whoever born should live on bayina and die on bayina. Is the same author become pathetic? Says, well, you say, I will just punish you. According to these people, they don't appreciate God as should be appreciated. فَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهِ حَقَّ قَدَرِهِ. They do not value God as should be valued. God is unable to respond with evidence to this person who say, I doubt this is word of Muhammad. Says, I will punish you, I will put you in fire and roast you. Let's read these verses. How it is distorted in the past. He says original translation, no sir, it's not original translation. According to distorted traditional translation that based on hadith. The past Muslims, including Muhammad, they stopped there. They knew they didn't understand. By following verses of the Quran, chapter 20, 114, they stopped making up meaning to that. Because the Quran says, do not rush into making up meaning. Wait. It says, Rabbi zidni ilman. My God, increase my knowledge. Therefore, when God says, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا سَقَرْ, I will throw him in Saqar, they didn't say hell. They stopped. Because وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا سَقَرْ, do you know what does Saqar mean? God doesn't want us to make up the meaning. God wants us to add another meaning, another layer of meaning to meaning of Saqar. Do you know what is Saqar? لَوَاحَةٌ لِلْبَشَرِ. It is obvious to people. But go look at the so-called original translation, which are distorted translation. Almost all of them will say burns the skin. Well, they try to understand without knowledge. They wanted to imagine hellfire that burns people who questions. And then skin. Bashar, maybe in your language, means humanity, people. In fact, the following verse not too far, maybe 2-3 verses later, in the end of verse 74-31 says, وَمَا هِيَ إِلَّا ذِكْرَى لِلْبَشَرِ. This is a reminder for humanity. The word Bashar mentioned that. And in all other part of the Quran, when they translate Bashar, they translate as humanity. But when it comes to this verse, لَوَاحَةٌ لِلْبَشَرِ, chapter 74, verse what?
I think it's
28, 20?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, okay. It says, لَوَاحَةٌ لِلْبَشَرِ 29. It is obvious for humanity. Lawha also. Bashar is never used in the Quran for skin. For skin, jild is used. Bashar, there's no such. They made up a meaning. They wanted to burn people. And lawha, in fact, in Arabic, throughout the Quran is used, screen, open, manifest stuff. Al-Wah is the plural of it. When Moses received Al-Wah, the open that 10 commandments was on it. Al-Wah, Lawaha, Lawha. I don't know in your language means. Therefore, they mistranslate this one. Not only that, several others. Now, I have this one in an article. I expose these mistranslations, very obvious mistranslations, distortions in hell or miracle, in that one. And when I come to that one, Aisha, over it is 19. This gentleman referred her to hell because hell is stuck in his mind. The hellfire, unfortunately, it is in his hallucination. And God says they are engulfed with hell. It is hell they create in their mind. I have no doubt about that because ha could refer to Saqar, which is Saqar is what? To obvious Lawaha. It refers to also Lawaha. Lawaha, in fact, the closest noun to that as Mu'annas means as a female. Therefore, Lawaha should be, Lawaha is also ismi, how to say, is a sufat, but could be referred to that one as a ha over that screen or over the Saqar. Saqar is intellectual punishment, not burning in the hell. I'm going to pass. About counting, 19, over it is 19, Hellfire said, I want you to read 74:31. Please compare our translation, Rashad's and my translation with other. Or if you want to see really analysis, exposition of it, read that article about hell or miracle in 19.org, you will see it. And originally, okay, I'm passing that. He says there's no numbers. I don't see the Quran says 19 is exactly in the Quran. You don't need to do that. You connected that so easily. So easily. If I see here, if I come here, I see 19 windows, the door number is 19. I see that the room inside the house, the room numbers are multiple of 19s. And you see it, It doesn't need to say, I paid attention to it, and you say this person somehow put my attention to 19. It is your inference. We use rules of inference. And guess what? There are 19 rules. I teach in my logic class. It is a full, complete system of logic that God created with us. It is 19 rules. When you use these rules, you will find out that it is so obvious in the Quran. Number of letters of Basmala, number of chapters, even the numbers of Basmala, you look at it, chapter 9 missing one Basmala, well, there are 114 chapters, but the number of Basmalas will be 113 because chapter 9 doesn't have one. The creator of the Quran, the author of the Quran, wants you to think, and you say, is there any one more? Because that time the number of Basmalas will be independent of the number of chapters, will be another parameter for number 19. You guess what? 19 chapters later, in the chapter 27, it is mentioned another time. There are many, this is simple. I want to show you, this gentleman showed Rashad some early stuff about Alif Lam Mim. Rashad made errors because he relied on the manuscript we have, which there are some errors in those manuscripts, therefore they are not fully preserved. But later now still we have problem with Ellis because it requires really a good critical scholarly research on all the available manuscripts we have. Inshallah, God will give me time, I will do that. We have Tashkent copy, Medina copy, Basra, and put together all of them, we'll find a standard writing. 5 minutes. Okay, I want to show you about Hamim. Referring to Rashad early trying some of the things, I said he discovered in 1974, but sometimes he hit there, he didn't see clarity of the system. I expected him to go over my work, which is not including some early errors that we humans we make when we see certain system. All scientists, when they come up with a new understanding laws, sometimes they make errors. But that law is established, proven, still you go back some early errors, you say he really made errors. This is a deceptive way of looking. This is painting the pig and introducing as a horse. I am using his metaphor. Okay, here it is. This one, chapter Hamim. I challenge him to falsify this, even in today's manuscript. There are 7 chapters start with letter Ha and Mim. Their frequency in that chapter, like chapter Sad, 3 chapters start with that one. We see exactly multiple of 19, 2,147. It is 113 times 19. But this one, there are subgroups of these 7 chapters in different subgroups. Also, the number of these letters, frequency of these 2 letters come multiple of 19. This was published in Rashad's early work, Visual Presentation of the Miracle of the Quran. Visual Presentation of the Miracle. I had problem with this. I discussed with Rashad. I said, Rashad, this is consistent with our other content. That initials in all those chapters, not singling out any, not kind of ignoring that one, is complete, very clear. The first thing that you can do it is this one. But this one arbitrary. Arbitrary, how arbitrary? Because you can put this 7, you can create about 120 combination out of these 7 chapters putting together in different combinations. Well, out of 120, you will get about 5 of them, which is 5, 6 of them. Coincidence, as a coincidence, it is just statistics. Therefore, this has no significance. He says, I know, but maybe there's something else there. He published already there. I had problem, honestly, with him, and I discussed one of the issues I discussed with him. I know in some areas he made errors, he carried away with it, because he was surrounded with some gullible people. They had no idea mathematics, they just showered him with numbers arbitrarily put next to each other. It's another issue I discuss here. But later, Milan Sul in Switzerland, he's a believer of the Quran, and he looked at the system clear, and then he checked this one. What he found here and all here, he found out the addition of these frequencies all add up to the factors of 19. For example, in these 7 chapters, it is 113 times 19, the total. If you add the digits that make up these numbers, like 64, Ha, in chapter 40, 6 plus 4, and the mean is what? 380, plus 3 plus 8 plus 0, and then you add them up, and this is called what? Digit, basically, Adam digits. He found out that in this whole table, it is 113, exactly coming to the factor. Guess what? And he checked all other subgroups, which I thought that coincidences, but he showed that all of them, the factors come exactly to the addition of the digits. When initially I looked at this work many years ago in 1990s, initially I said this must be mathematical property. This may not has anything to do with deliberate design. And then I checked. How check it? Easy. Keeping the numbers as total the same, I played with the digits. I said, I can get the total the same. Let's see if digits were different and what would be. It didn't work. Then I knew there is something here. I took it to University of Arizona, to math department, to professor in number theory. I didn't tell this guy this is from the Quran. Therefore, I don't want to have initial prejudice. I showed him this one. He got very interested in that one because he noticed. I'm just finishing. Okay, with this one I'm finishing. And then he worked about 20, 30 minutes on it. He spent on it. He came up with formula. The formula is here. I put it in this book. This formula in every table, it is justified. It follows this formula. This is not only numbers. These numbers correspond to words, letters, meaningful. I just want to finish up this one. If you have problem with 19, I challenge you with just two things, because we may have phobia against 19. Go look at just two words in the Quran. The word shahr means month. It is mentioned exactly 12 times. You can look at Fuad Abdul Baqi's book if you want. And the word yawm is a singular form of day, exactly mentioned how many times? 365 times. These two enough. Not to show that the Quran is word of God, no. But it can show us there is some deliberate mathematical design in this book. Will be unappreciated to God's great sign because it changed paradigm. In fact, for this gentleman, it's a great argument. When he discusses with the hadith, he is doomed to lose without this. He is doomed to lose. Why? If the hadith is smart, he will say, gentlemen, you rely on a book, manuscript, that is narrated by our ancestors. You discredit them, you discredit your claim. And I will challenge him, prove me that this verse is from God. He will not be able, but I will be able to prove that. Okay.
Thank you. Before I have asked Farouk to respond and close the discussion, you've all been sitting there very patiently. I want to give the audience the opportunity to either make points or ask questions. If you have a question, please say who you want to answer the question. I'll take them in groups of three. Mark.
Yeah, I wanted to, if you could explain to the people when the word, the mathematical 90, was able to show about not cutting the hand, you would be able to cut the hand.
That's one.
It is a different...
No, yeah. Let me take the two more questions. At the back there.
About to Edip, about the verification of the pattern found in the Quran, so everything is multiple of 19. I suppose that we can find also a coded Unicode text of the Quran, so we can verify ourselves. For instance, the counts of the word Allah, the counts of the simple fact, for instance, the letter seen. Is it possible?
A friend of mine...
Wait, last question.
Yeah, just I think Farouk, I understand your position, but I would want to know how do you deal with the verse about mathematical challenges of the Quran in terms of produce a chapter like this? How do you deal with that?
Okay, Edip, can you take those two first questions then?
Okay.
The last one.
I will not answer the first one because it's not within the topic. It is related to some laws in the Quran, like cutting the hands of the thief. In 1992, I published a book in Turkey. It is titled Errors in Turkish Translations, Kur'an çevirilerindeki hatalar. In that book, this was one of the verses. I look at the Quran, the usage of the Quran. The word is most important, the crucial. And using my mind. Don't put my mind in the bag. Use my mind, God-given reasoning, and look at the Quran, how this word is used. I found out that the word qata'a is being used in three meanings. And God allows us to pick whichever is consistent with the Quran, with the message of the Quran. And one is cut off, you can get it. The other is mark, like in chapter 12 about a woman see Joseph, kind of figuratively they cut their hand. And another one is cut the relationship. And I tend to pick that one is more reasonable because within the context, if they repent, forgive them. Therefore, if you cut off, there is no such a thing. But it seems that cut off their relationship, their power to steal and to kind of rehabilitation or put prison or mark their hands as possibility. Therefore, there are three understanding. And gentlemen, may I answer that, gentle, or you want to add to something to this one?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, I didn't use it.
As far as I came from Holland, and over there I met a gentleman, a computer wizard, a very good coder. A coder, I mean, he worked with computer programming for a major company. And this gentleman became Muslim, and he's very interested with 19, and he's very curious. He wants to verify for himself. He doesn't know Arabic, but a little bit he's learned about letters. He put a program together, he defined it, and he came up with the same calculation in most of the cases, not all of them, because there are some problems like elif and certain things, punctuation. And he's putting together right now the text of the Quran, that you count them one by one, it will show you, you will be able to verify or falsify, you will be able to compare with another thing. And by the way, I want to tell you the prophecy of these 19 is incredible about the timing of it. I don't want to miss this one because this is one of the greatest things that it is not done by Muhammad. Chapter 74 is Mudassir, the hidden one. 19 is mentioned only in this chapter. And if you put these numbers together in two ways, 74, 19, I don't have at this time any meaning. But 1974, it was the time of discovery. In a time, in a calendar that everyone in the world knows about. God uses the language of even mushriks, Arabic was the language of mushriks, to deliver them the message. Some simple-minded Arabic culture, influenced by Arabic culture, oh, this is kind of Western stuff. No, this is commonly known calendar, and through that God shows you that He is the controlling the time of the discovery. So 1974. If you multiply these two numbers, 19 times 74 is exactly lunar years from the revelation of the Quran, historically 610 until 1974. And Ya ayyuhal muddaththir qum fa'anzir, this statement, first statement of this chapter, oh, the hidden one. People understand only human. No, it could be some concept, because the Quran, God talks to earth and the skies, and they talk back. Antaqa kulli shay'in, and says, oh hidden one, come and warn, come out and warn. 19 letters, and the geometrical value, numerical value is exactly 1974. And here, rabbis in just Europe, last year I came, some rabbis became Muslim because of this. They accepted the Quran. And from Yugoslavia, and I went there to Poland, and in Germany, and in Holland, now they are a group of rabbis. In United States now, they became Muslims because of this code. And exactly chapter 74, 31 says, people of the book, some people of the book will remove doubt in that heart. But I haven't seen a single people of the book, their doubts is removed about the Quran based on the number of gods in hell for in 1406 years. In 1406, not a single one he cannot show me, but I can show you dozens, just rabbis, hundreds of Christians, and some agnostics accepting the Quran just based on this one, exactly the prophecy of the Quran. Thank you.
Okay, what I'm going to do now, in trying to balance the time, between now and 2:30, I'm going to give the time to Peru to respond, and then we're going to close on the subject of 19.
What about
and we're going
dialogue?
and move
What
on
about
to
dialogue? You had
report.
half an hour
No more dialogue.
where you
Farouk responds
said lots of stuff,
20 minutes.
which I need to respond to.
Anyway, I'm the chairman. Farouk has 20 minutes to respond, and then that's the end of 19. Stop.
But the question initially when I started, it was presentation, it was not an argument. When he started, I responded, correct? Now maybe the equal one would be dialogue.
Well, we're not
Because
doing
it will
that.
be equal. Because the other one, the
We
first
are
one was
not-
wasted
We are
time.
not doing that.
Okay, go ahead.
We're having 20 minutes
Okay.
by Farouk, and then that's the close of 19.
Can I just address Darren's question beforehand? Was that-
Yes, but as part of your time, we're going to stop at 2:30.
Okay. And I think that's a very fair question, which Darren asked. The surah like it. Now, this is something which Edip put forward in his book, 19, God's Signature in Nature and Scripture. He said that how can we start testing the assertion of the Quran? A good start would be to compare the Quran to the religious literature of the era. We won't make the comparison in literary excellence, since for such a task, we need to be experts in Arabic literature. I agree with that, by the way. and we would lack objective criteria. Again, the word objectivity is being raised. So basically, Edip is saying, look, if the Quran is, the Quran puts forward the test of a surah like it, and it's talking about literary excellence, then, I mean, what's the whole point? I mean, everyone is going to just say, well, my surah is better than your surah. And unfortunately, this is the same case with the 19th theory. The 19th theory, Edip has just spent half an hour telling us why Rashad got it wrong, and why he's coming to correct Rashad. So maybe some guy out
Rashad corrected himself. No, I didn't say that. You are telling me, you are telling me wrong from my mouth.
No,
you claim,
he's speaking.
But in my name is saying, I didn't
No,
say
I don't care. He's speaking, nobody else.
but to answer Edip's question, he himself said that towards the end, Rashad lost objectivity. So that's where I got it from anyway. So, but to answer Darren's question, what is the surah like it? This again, we have to go back to reading in context. Reading in context is something which unfortunately the 19ers have neglected to do. Let me show you a great example of this. Edip has mentioned Kitabun Marqum 4 or 5 times in his talk. But did he tell you where Kitabun Marqum appears? No, he did not. And I'll tell you why. Because if he did come out, what's going to happen is we're going to know what it really refers to. Now, I refer you to chapter 83, verse 5. Verse 6, sorry. A day when all mankind will stand before the Lord of the worlds. Judgment day, yeah? Surely the record of the wicked is in Sijjeen. What will explain to you what Sijjeen is? Kitabun Marqum. Is this referring to the Quran? What will explain to you where the records of the wicked are? Kitabun Marqum. So no, it's not referring to the Quran. And it appears again from verses 18 to 23, and it talks about the register of the righteous. Again, it calls it Kitabun Marqum. So once again, quoting out of context and saying, okay, this is what it refers to. Same like surah like it. Surah like it, when Edip quotes it, he doesn't perform the same exercise that he does for chapter 74, verses 26 to 35, where he finds the 19th theory. He doesn't do that. He says, okay, this is the Sunni meaning of the word.
I don't say that. No. In front of me is distorting. In the book I have mentioned this one. There is time limitation. He is accusing me of hiding. It's not a matter of hiding. No, I'm out. Because he's putting things in my mouth. He is claiming certain things, which is exactly the opposite what he's saying in my books. But he expects me to mention everything. Give me 2 hours, absolutely I will discuss this one. I am not into hiding. What he is doing, he hit that too. Because in that one, the mukazzib, the denier, will not be witness Kitabun Marqum. But the believer, the open-minded, will witness it.
Edip, respect
No, I'm not. I'm going. Because this is not right. I didn't say something that he didn't say.
I can quote you right here where
you had your time.
I show it here. May I show it here?
You had your time, this is his time.
But in his time, he doesn't have the right to put words in my mouth that I didn't say, or accusing me of something.
Would you be happy with sort of a question and answer?
That will be best. Absolutely. Can you get out from here? Stop dictator. Come on. I want to listen to him. He listen. The truth is more important.
You asked me to chair. If you want me to stop chairing, I will stop chairing.
You're doing a brilliant job. You're doing
I think
that.
He is speaking, I want him to speak uninterrupted, and then that's the end of 19 at 2:30.
Edip, we listened to you for half an hour, and I will
Listen, you made, initially it was introductory. As I talked to you, it's introductory. The communication was this. Because this issue is for many people new, I need to have introduction.
Yeah.
That was extra. When you have an accusation, I have rebuttal time. Now the last word, you will go make it up, distort the facts, and I will shut up for the sake of this guy. No, it's not the truth. The truth will not come. But truth will come out. I will listen to him right now. Let me chance to rebuttal now.
We're going to stop at 2:30, and then we're going to move on to Islamic reform. Because that's what the agenda says. So keep going till 2:30.
Is this constitution? We can't even amend the constitution, sir. We are in straight jacket.
You can either ask me to stop chairing, which is up to the organisers,
Can you
or I
please
carry
do
on and I
something
chair
to
my
that?
way.
I think the chair is doing a very good job. I think you'd all agree.
Yes.
So I think we'll carry on as
I mean, a lot of us not getting the opportunity. you don't come to the UK so often. You
Okay.
Edip, okay. So for you to leave now is it's a lost opportunity.
Yeah, I
So,
will not be sitting
yeah.
here to listen to certain things that will create innuendos about my intention, which I don't have in my books, if given me time, absolutely I discuss. I am not into hiding. Just he hid. Why he accused me of hiding, he hid the part that they are not witnessing, but others are witnessing this Kitab al-Marhum. Therefore, I am ready to discuss. If it is about trying to find the truth, not about just fighting over the time, then let him talk and let me, if he's making up something in my name, I should be able to say, no, I never said show me.
I'm responsible for managing the time. I want Farouk to speak uninterrupted until 2:30, and then we're going to close on 19.
What's the time now, actually?
Time now is 2:15.
2:15.
15 minutes.
Why don't I take 10 minutes and you can rebut whatever I say? And you
Okay,
can have the
good
last
idea.
word.
Yeah, in dialogue much better. I think we can do better. I will not, you will not beat me, correct? And I will not to, in fact, you can
Well,
say,
I'm an ingrate, according to you, so you
Well,
don't need to actually.
So you're going to stop at 2:25 and give 5
I don't
minutes?
mind, I don't mind. Edip can have the last word, it's fine. Yeah.
no, not last words. I am not into the last words. In fact, it would be much better, I thought, afterwards, I rebuttal and dialogue. In fact, we talk about that too. But this gentleman want to be,
We're going to stop 19 at 2:30.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Can you leave, please, here? Let me,
No,
with my
excuse me.
friend, discuss.
I'm sorry.
If
People
you-
that have democracy here, how many of you would
No,
like
this
me
is
to
not a
discuss?
democracy. It's the Muslim Institute.
I would like to ask a question for Brother Farouk. Can I ask that?
If it's a very quick question.
I make it.
I'm sorry, I would like to actually
Yeah.
address some of the points that Edip has made, which I haven't had the chance.
Okay.
Now, just like Edip claims that I made false accusations, he actually made 5 false accusations about me.
What was it? Show me one.
Yeah, well, the first one is you said, my friends say that the Quran's Alif Lam Mim refers to the name of God. I do not.
I didn't say you. I said many people.
No, you say my friends.
Huh?
You used the term his friends. Yeah.
But,
That's on video.
But listen,
on video.
is it you? You are the only friend?
No, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
You said it's my friends.
I didn't
don't have
say
any
you.
such
I
friends.
didn't say your name that you are referring to. There are
So
many.
who's his friends then?
One
God's
of them,
friends?
many.
Whose friends? Whose friends are you?
Are you
referring
the
to?
only friend that I have who is denying this? I have many friends. Goodness
Yeah, but you
sake.
say his friends.
Whose
You
friend?
refer to yourself in the third person.
Yeah, who's friends?
You said his friends. You're pointing to me.
Oh, don't you have any friends referring to this
No,
one?
I don't.
Huh?
I do.
Ayman?
No, I don't even know Ayman. I don't.
No,
believe
I-
Ayman's treatment. Of
Listen,
anything.
it is not a matter of personal friend. The people who are denying this.
Yes, so word
Okay.
it accurately.
Okay,
Word it accurately.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. They are not your friends. They
No,
are.
my friend, I don't know
You don't have
anyone-
any friends who are referring this to?
I don't believe in that. Sorry.
Okay, good.
But yeah, okay. So, getting back to the surah like it, yeah. Unfortunately, with the surah like it, Edip has failed to look at alternative interpretations the way he did for 19. This is what I mean by subjective bias. You look at something only when it suits you, and then you claim I'm objective. Okay. Well, if you look at the verse, one of the verses, which is really my favorite one regarding surah like it, is chapter 10, verses 35 all the way to 42. Once again, when you rip it out of context, it won't fit. Verse 38 there says, or do they say he forged it? Bring a surah like it, and call to your aid anyone whom you can besides Allah if you speak the truth. So, for traditionalists, they believe that this refers historically to the literary excellence of the Quran. Unfortunately, this is out of context. If you read it from verse 35, it says, say, of your partners, is there any that can give guidance towards the truth? Then the reply, say, it is God who gives guidance towards the truth. This is a key phrase, yeah? Guidance towards the truth. Yahdi ilal haq. And is he who gives guidance to truth more worthy to be followed, or he who finds not guidance unless he is guided? What then is the matter with you? How do you judge? God is asking you, how do you judge? How do you judge who gives guidance? Let's continue. Most of them do follow nothing but conjecture, and conjecture cannot avail against the truth. We're still talking about the truth, and God is well aware of what they do. Now listen to this. This Quran cannot be produced by other than Allah. On the contrary, it is a confirmation of what is before it and an explanation of Al-Kitab. There is no doubt in it. Al-Kitab is the book from the Lord of the worlds. Now comes our favorite verse. Or do they say he forged it? Or do they say he forged it? The verse does not appear out of nowhere. It's only when you say, okay, it means literary excellence, you ignore the context. And that is exactly what it is. Then it says, bring us a surah like it and call to your aid anyone besides Allah if you speak the truth. That is how you get to compare the Quran. Read the Quran, understand its message. Don't say its message is narrations from the past, like some people, and you compare it. That is how the Quran becomes irreproducible without any kind of comparison.
Can I just, you know, sorry. Edip's position is that that surah is basically pointing to the numerical miracle of the Quran, or the construction of the Quran.
Yes.
And it basically, that means a proof that the Quran is from the word of God, correct? Is that okay? The traditional position is that it's a literary excellence.
Indeed.
Okay. It seems that you're saying that we're talking about it's basically pointing to the reformist nature of the Quran.
It's guiding us towards the truth.
Is that your position in a way?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I read from the context.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not objective. I'm a subjective reader of the Quran. I read what I can, so I cannot claim objectivity. You know, I may find something else later on.
But isn't isn't that a little subjective in a sense?
Circular
Is it-
tautology.
Because on one side, if it's sort of subjective in a way, like everything is, because
It is subjective.
Yes, because if that's reformist, anyone can claim from any particular philosophy that they've been reformed by that particular book.
Indeed.
So that's the problem I've got with it.
That's not a problem at all.
I mean,
in fact,
I'm not saying I don't know much about the American miracle. I haven't really investigated, but that particular argument is a bit like the literary argument. There's a book called the Furqan. Have you heard of the Al-Furqan?
yes, sure.
Yeah, and
What's your name?
challenge. My name's Darren.
Thank you very much for pointing it.
Yeah.
Can we go back to Farouk
sorry.
to finish, please?
Sorry about that.
Well, you said you're going to hand over to 225.
Oh, well, I can't now, can I? I mean, I've just been sorry. You know, I've got a few points as well.
Keep going.
Okay.
But we're going to stop at 230.
Stand up.
221.
Oh, okay. Right. So, okay, basically, to wrap up, here's what I see the position is. Edip's essential position is this. He is objective. Anyone who disagrees with him is blind. It's as simple as that, really. But in his speech, he does actually mention that Rashid Khalifa sometimes hit this and that, meaning there was experimentation. He mentioned that he played by digits. That's the words he used as well. Played with your digits. That does not mean that he was playing around. No, what it means is he was experimenting. He was experimenting. And that's well within his rights. I'm not going to say, oh, he's a disbeliever for doing that. But no, when you actually do something of a human nature towards the text, you are no longer being objective. And I will now demonstrate the lack of objectivity. Yeah? These are the parts of my presentation which Edip did not address. Not counting the Bismillahs for other surahs. Now, for the word, let's say the word Allah, okay? The word Allah, they counted 2698 counts of the word. In that count, they counted the first Bismillah, which is Fatiha, but not any other Bismillahs. Now, Edip fights for Bismillah to be 19 letters. Yet, for
And
this...
27, chapter 27, verse 30 also counted the number.
Would you mind allowing me to finish,
Well, in
please?
my name you say something which is wrong. I have to correct you.
I'm
Correct me
coming
too.
No, let him finish. Don't interrupt him.
So, 112 Bismillahs are not counted here. Is this scientific? It's as scientific as giving different exams to different ethnicities and claiming one ethnicity is smarter than the other. That's as objective and scientific as it is. So, here I have to ask, I mean, why on earth do you not include the Bismillah? The answer is very simple. If you include the other Bismillahs, the count will fail. You include another 112 Bismillahs, the count will fail. Why don't you include it? What gives you the right to say it shouldn't be in there? You don't have the right to do it. You are asserting the right, and you are claiming those who don't agree with that particular experiment as ingrates, hypocrites, rejectors, etc. This is another kind, I mean, Edip admitted to being fundamentalist there. And I have to say, I mean, for a person who is after Islamic reform, being a fundamentalist is simply a denial of our human nature. Next, subjectivity, removal of verses 928 to 129. There are some people on the internet who found that the so-called false verses which Edip has removed to have a 19 code in them. Can you believe that? They are rejected by the 19ers, but they have 19 code in them. For example, the number of letters in both these verses is 114, 19 times 6. The total value of the first and last letters is 190, 19 times 10. 19th word in those two verses is the word Allah. This is what we're being told. You see, it's very easy to just construct these numbers. I don't believe in these two verses because of this. I believe in it because it's dhikr, which is another verse which Edip misquoted. Edip quoted chapter 15, verse 9, and he said, Inna nahnu nazzalna al-Qur'an. Actually, no, the word is not Qur'an. The word is dhikr. That is a key word in understanding the preservation of the Qur'an, the word dhikr. So, unfortunately, we have been fed a bill of goods, just so 19 looks good.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes, oh brilliant. Okay. Selective use of hadith. Now, Edip mentioned in his 30-minute exposition, he said, you know, one guy, he said, can I just use one hadith? And Edip said, absolutely not. Guess what? Have a look at 19, God's signature in nature and scripture, page, I think about 440, thereabouts. There's a whole document by Aisha Musa about how hadith is used to falsify 9, 128, 129, the two so-called false verses. Why did you use hadith then? Again, double standard, confirmation bias. You see, the thing is, and I'll close with this because I can't address all the other mistranslations which Edip made. To close, quite simply, I'll have to say this. I'm not claiming to be an objective reader of the Quran. I'm not claiming to be infallible. But at the same time, I'm saying those who propagate the 19 theory are not objective. They will keep looking for 19. Edip admitted that. He said he played around with it until he found the right digits. So what more needs to be said? You're a human being, and yet you want to say, okay, well, you know what? Those who disagree with the code, they are ingrates. Really, it's not disagreeing with the code, it's disagreeing with your count of the code. That's the difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, we're going to close at 4:30. We have 2 hours between now and 4:30. Let me explain how we're going to allocate that time so everybody knows about it in advance. We're going to talk now on Islamic reform. Each of the speakers will speak for 20 minutes or less, but not more, uninterrupted. And then we will have questions and answers starting at 3:10, or when both speakers have finished, if they finish earlier. That Q&A will finish at 3:30. At 3:30, each speaker will speak for 15 minutes, uninterrupted, on Protestant Islam. That will mean that they stop at 4 o'clock, and we'll have 30 minutes questions and answers on Protestant Islam. I'm sorry to the audience that you haven't had more opportunity to ask questions earlier. That was because I couldn't get the speakers to stop speaking. So now, who wants to go first?
How many minutes?
20 minutes each.
I don't have even 3 minutes to respond some of these.
No.
But
I want to think so.
Okay,
I
I want later with you. I will respond this on the.
yes, sure.
About 10
Because
minutes.
of course you deserve
Okay.
it. You
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
So who wishes to go first
If he wants, he can.
on Islamic reform?
Okay.
Which of
Okay.
you wants to go
Go ahead.
first?
Oh, no, you can go.
No, you are on the roll. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, sure. 20 minutes or less on Islamic reform, uninterrupted.
Right, everybody cool down a bit, yeah? So, yeah, this is you have just passed the disagreement phase in this particular talk. Now we're coming, I think, to the agreement phase. Islamic reform. Okay, I mean, who hasn't heard of Islamic reform? Islamic reform is not something new. We've actually heard this term the reform of Islam from the time of Jamaluddin al-Afghani and Muhammad Abdul. So we're talking late 19th century, early 20th century. They first started thinking about Islamic reform. So the question is, why did they start thinking about Islamic reform? Well, at the time, Islam as a civilization was in a quagmire. Now, what does that mean? I mean, look, when Islam first started, it became the empire which lit the world, you know, according to even the opinion of Orientalists. Yet, by the time we reached Afghani and Abdul's time, Islam had become very, very stagnant. So people were thinking about Islamic reform. Some people don't like the word reform. They believe in the word renewal or tajdeed. And the reason for this is because they don't believe Islam needs reform. Now, this all boils down to your definition of Islam. Do you believe that Islam is something physical, real in the world, which is being influenced by historical forces? Or do you believe Islam is a Platonic concept, which is eternal despite human activity? So that's your definition. Yeah? I mean, to me, Islam is something on the ground. We are the carriers of Islam. Those of us who use the term Muslim, we carry Islam. And we manufacture the perception of Islam. The word reform literally means to form again. I believe in reform even if Islam is still the top civilization in the world. Why? Because I believe we need constant introspection. We need to constantly evaluate ourselves. So, why did Islam need reform to begin with? I mean, would people think of Islam? Would people think of Islamic reformation if Islam didn't need reform? And actually, I don't think they would. I think there was a point when Islam became malformed. Islam actually lost its direction and unfortunately drove itself into the ground. In my opinion, it was during the fall of the Mu'tazila. You see, the Mu'tazila, they were the rationalists of Islam. During their time, works of philosophy were produced. I mean, I've read some of these works, and I must say, I mean, the philosophy in them is incomparable even today. But somewhere along those lines, Muslims started saying, look, philosophy is haram. We can't have philosophy. We need to have the scholars tell us what Islam is. We need to accept it and practice it as they tell us. That is where I believe the decline began. So, Islam, at the moment, people say needs reform. But when we say it needs reform, what does it need reform from? And for me, Islam needs reform from Islamic fundamentalism. Islamic fundamentalism, I mean, when you say Islamic fundamentalists, you listen to the BBC, you're thinking of those guys doing terrible things to people. But I believe Islamic fundamentalism begins up here. It's a mindset. And it's the mindset which says, I am saved, you are not. I'm from the saved sect, you are not. And when you have that mindset, it manifests in your various institutions. For example, Islamic fundamentalists, they believe in the Islamic State, the Dawla Islamiyah. And this Islamic State is designed, or rather they envision it to become a global superpower, to subjugate other states, just like the colonialist era. That's exactly the kind of thing they want. Another thing, they socially engineer an ummah. Now, it's okay to have an ummah, but when you start saying our ummah is the best and other people are subservient or inferior to our ummah, that's not so good. That's Islamic fundamentalism. Then you have Sharia law. Sharia law is the biggest agency of Islamic fundamentalism there is. It basically states, number one, there is a blasphemy law. What's the blasphemy law? Basically, you start questioning people, you start questioning the scholars, they say, okay, well, that's you're finished now. You start saying, okay, well, I disagree with your laws, you're finished. You start saying, okay, well, I think the state needs this instead of your agenda, you're finished. Even democracy is deemed as haram. That is Islamic fundamentalism. To me, Islamic fundamentalism is a hark back to what I call the pre-reformist Christian era. Now, there was a point in European history where the Catholic Church reigned supreme. Okay, I mean, if the Pope said something to a king, like King Henry, for example, yeah? He said to King Henry, I'm sorry, you can't do that. So King Henry had to actually disavow the Pope to do what he wanted. And the reason for that is the power and might of the Pope at the time was simply unassailable. You simply could not question it. That was Catholicism. At the moment, we are in a state of Catholic Islam. I don't mean any insults to the Catholics, any Catholics here, but the word Catholic actually means universal. So when I say we are in a state of Catholic Islam, we are in a state where Islam is seen to be homogeneous, to have one central authority. Okay, let's take, for example, some bombing was perpetrated somewhere. They'll go and ask the Catholic Islamic authorities what the opinion is on this matter. And those guys will inevitably say, oh, it's just. They will not ask the dissenting opinions. And that is where the problem lies. If you look at any book, for example, Islam for beginners, or Islam for dummies, or Islam for idiots, or something like that, have a read of it. Do they have any kind of opinions which resemble the sentiments of most people here today? Generally not. Generally they don't. They have opinions which are towards the fundamentalist streak of Islam. Not fully fundamentalist, mind you, but still somewhat towards that, we are the best and you are not kind of mentality. And I think this is really unfortunate because Islam is full of diversity. I mean, here in the last 2-3 hours, you've seen a diverse set of opinions. But right now, you're going to see that we don't disagree on what is Islamic reform all that much. So, what am I calling for? I'm trying to cut it as short as possible to give you guys time to discuss. I am calling for a Protestant Islam. Now, again, let's not confuse the use of the terms. A protest, the etymology of the word protest means a public testimonial of one's disagreement to a particular subject. And that is what we need. We need a Protestant Islam. We need to be able to sit in the same room, each of us give a different opinion, not get heated up about it too much, and be able to say, okay, well, at the end of the day, we still want to fight for human rights, for humanity to progress, and for us to move forward into the next era. And I do believe that Protestant Islam can do this. I do believe that if human beings got together, we united on what we do agree on. Usually it's not theology or scripture, but it is on basic values. If we do agree on those basic values, we need to create that space. As the moderator introduced, I'm from the Quranist Network, and in the Quranist Network, we don't have a set interpretation. Actually, there are people in the Quranist Network who do believe in a code. So we don't have a problem with that. What we want is for people to get together with a hub of ideas in mind. So they exchange their ideas and they will become all the better for it. And I do believe Islam as a whole should have the same mindset. We need to put forward that Muslims are a diverse set of individuals. We accept all manner of opinions, and we do not accept that some central authority speaks in our name. Thank you very much.
Thank you.